Good evening, everyone. Let us start the session by chanting Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. All right. So today we are coming back to page number 212. Please turn to page number 212. So with regards to page number 212, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask after going through the page in your home study? Did you have any problems with it?
Bhante, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, you can.
On this number 3, on the page 212, it says 3-rooted, superior, wholesome. And then, but in the on the right-hand side, great rootless, it says great rootless, dissociated with knowledge. So isn't that only 2 roots in that?
Okay. So could you repeat again, Lucky? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. On the left-hand side, on the sense sphere volitions, it says 3-rooted, superior, wholesome.
Okay.
Then on the right-hand side, it got great rootless, dissociated with knowledge.
Sure.
So isn't that only 4? 4 of them have only 2 roots.
Yes. Now,
so why is it saying 3-rooted superior?
Why is it saying 3 roots there? So
Yeah.
what it is referring to when it says it is referring to the angle of where a 2-rooted, or when an action is done, action is done.
Yes.
When it comes to 3-rooted, right? When it comes to 3-rooted, how many consciousnesses together do we have 3-rooted?
4, isn't it? Under sense sphere great resultants, only 4.
Yes, right. So we have 4 which are 3-rooted and those that are powerful, right?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
did we go through the ability, right? Did we go through the ability of a 2-rooted being able to have a powerful resultant as well as a weak resultant?
I don't know, Bhante.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else who would like to comment about this? Anyone else?
Bhante, what's the question?
The question is on in the third category. What Lucky is asking is, which is the right question, is there are 3-rooted, superior, wholesome, right? Now, when we look at sense sphere all, we have under great resultant dissociated with knowledge, which is a 2-rooted. Why is that included within this category? Is the question, isn't that, Lucky?
Yeah, that's correct, Bhante. That's correct. Yeah.
Bhante, I think it's because of it's during the course of existence.
Okay.
No.
I can't hear anything.
Can you hear us, Mala?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Bhante, that 8 dissociated with knowledge is during the course of existence. So during the course of existence, we may have done so many things in the past, good and bad. So you can have all 8.
Okay. How does that apply to the category which says sensitive volitions 3-rooted then?
The sense sphere three-rooted person in the Patisandhi, he gets only 4 great resultants. That's okay. But during the course of existence, he can have all 16s, all 8 associated and dissociated with knowledge, and all 8 are ahetuka, because the past wholesome and unwholesome deeds what we have done can come as pravrutti vipaka during the course of existence.
Correct. That is the complete one. Did you understand what Mala said?
Not 100%. Not 100%.
Right. So in the first category, let me just share my screen again. All right. When we look at sense sphere wholesome, which is this section, I'm sorry, the sense sphere volitions, right? Now we know Chetanaham Bhikkave Kammam Vadami. Chetana is translated as volitions.
Yeah.
Right? That is clear, right? So these are the volitions that go into the producing of a certain karma. Is that understood?
Yeah. Yes, Bhante.
So when a person, now let's focus on this one. You can see my cursor moving, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we focus on, so three-rooted superior wholesome is generated. Now, when this is generated, this section deals with how is now this going to give result, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we are to develop or do something which is through a three-rooted wholesome consciousness, remember we discussed that although one karma or karma is performed through a specific predominant consciousness, we do not only produce one karma, we produce a wide variety of karmas linked to that process of performing the initial karma. Right? Now, for example, I am doing a good deed or offering something to someone in need. This karma would give rise to, or would now allow for the rise of similar karmas as a recipient. Also, it gives rise to ahetuka karmas, right? Chakku, sota, gana, jibha, kaya, right? And also paves way for resultants which are both three-rooted, two-rooted, and other resultants. Is that understood?
Yes, Bhante, yes. Thank you.
One karma does not give rise to the same. It does not mean that just because we perform a three-rooted action, that it is only three-rooted consciousnesses which can now give result. That it does not mean so.
Okay.
Is that clear now?
Yeah, yes, Bhante, thank you. Yes.
Right? Okay. So that is why there are 4 Trihetuka Chittas in the great resultant. That 4 has to clearly be there in the time of Patisandhi, rebirth. That is what this first section is referring to, you see. Right? Sense sphere blissful at the moment of Patisandhi, such a thing can be, or such a circumstance can be brought forward by the act of, or by the 4 Trihetuka Chittas. Right? By the 4 Trihetuka Chittas. But when it comes to the pravrutti vipaka, that means at the time or during the duration of life, this can now be, or this action can give result in these ways. Do you understand?
Yes, Bhante. Yeah.
That is clear, Lucky?
Yes, Bhante. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Anyone else who might have a question or a problem with that? Go ahead, Padma.
I think on the same one in number 3, I think you come to sense sphere all. And when you said the first 8, I don't know whether I didn't hear it correctly, but you said something about people being in lower realms and then get offered merit and then could come up and escape from that. Is that correct? I mean, that's what the way I understood it.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that possible? Yeah. Okay.
And what is the consciousness that would then arise in a place like that?
Then it has to be a beautiful, probably with knowledge. And then you said they can escape from that
Yes.
overthinking for a little time.
No, a little time, it's not about the time, but for a being to now be free of a hellish realm, that potential is brought about by a consciousness that is beyond that respective realm.
Yeah.
Right? That is beyond that respective realm. Right? So that is what we experience, what we know of through the practice, what we know through the perfections. We realize that these consciousnesses that are beyond our mundane natures are that which takes us to the higher abodes. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, no. Lettuce. Go ahead, Lettuce. Noeline, you can go after.
Bhante, sorry, I have two questions. One is the first one, the unwholesome. No, the number two, the fine material sphere. I thought they would have got rid of aversion, the two dosa mula chittas, by the time they got to the fine material sphere. So they would have only 10 unwholesome chittas.
Okay. Why do you think that, Noeline? What led you to think in such a manner? Because the only people who get rid of anger are who? Is it Anagami? Sakurdagami?
The Sakrudagamis get rid of anger partially.
And
Anagami completely.
Completely Anagami.
yes. See, if so, it does not mean that the fine material should be rid of that. It's not so. But thing is, because of the sublime nature of life that one would be living within at a position or at a plane of existence such as the fine material sphere, it is another story whether these kinds of unwholesome attributes comes to mind. That is another story. However, the potential is very much within the spectrum. Is that understood, Lettuce?
Yes, Bhante.
Yeah?
And another, yes, thank you. Another one is that the planes, Padma asked the question about the 16 planes. I checked everywhere, it's still 16. And you said you will be asking someone about it last time.
Yes, I have unfortunately not been able to ask anyone through the weekend, but I will and let you all know.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Anyone else? Noeline, you wanted to have a question. You had to unmute yourself, Noeline. Noeline, you have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Mr. Writer?
Yes, now we can hear.
Bhante, sensuous planes, there are 11, 6 heavens, human, and the 4 woeful. But fine material, they have some faculties, but not included in sensuous world. Is that because they have eradicated sensual desires?
Could you repeat again, please?
Right, sensuous planes, right? There are 11, 6 heaven, human, and 4 woeful. But fine material plane, they have some faculties, but not they are not included in the sensuous planes. Is it because they have eradicated sensual desires?
Well, okay. In the in the fine material sphere, the contemplation or the meditation that we have learned, which leads to the attainments, which then is able to take you to the fine material sphere, include a certain amount of viraga, right? Which is basically the disassociation with a certain amount of, so it can be rupa viraga, arupa viraga, right? When it comes to the fine material sphere, what we deal with is rupa viraga, right? What we deal with is rupa viraga. It is in dealing with that rupa viraga that one is able to now develop the jhana factors to a level where now one is able to attain to jhana, in return also be born in the fine material spheres, right? Remember, this was within the meditation practice itself. It wasn't separate from the meditation practice. When we worked in sort of letting go of the specific jhana factors to a level where now a certain subtlety of mind arose, that itself was the viraga, right? That itself was the viraga. When it came to arupa viraga, which leads to the rebirth in the immaterial sphere, that deals with now a sense where we let go of all rupa to an extent where now we even go deeper into the arupa, right? Remember the letting go of space, the letting go of nothingness, and so that process included that process of viraga in terms of the arupa, right? Viraga in terms of arupa. So yes, Noeli, it is because we have let go of a certain aspect of rupa that we are able to live within, or have the potential to be reborn within the fine material sphere, right? So for those, as I've mentioned, I think earlier, for those of us who are entrenched and attached to materials and also trying to practice, such a person will find it very difficult to go beyond the human realm, because one's attractions are within the human realm, right? Are within the human realm. Is that understood?
Thank you, Bhante.
Yes. Any other questions?
Bhante, is it also related to suppression of Bhante, is it also related to the suppression of 5 nivaranas? Or because when you are doing the jhanas, so practically you have suppressed all 5 nivaranas, right? So because it's a temporary suppression, actually it's not eradication, it's suppression of nivaranas that brings you to the fine material.
I would say yes, absolutely. We cannot say that that is untrue. It is a suppression of the nivaranas, but I'm also reminded of this. When you say suggest a suppression, I'm also reminded of this. There are
We lost you.
We can.
Yeah?
Oh.
So I am also reminded of this. Now, when we would take, let's say, for example, you take a horse. Some horses are used in sort of, in the past, they were used in labor, isn't it? Right? Some were, of royal patronage, where they would be used to sort of, with the queen or the guards, all of that. Some horses lived in the wild, right? Some horses were used for racing. In such a manner, although now every horse, if trained, can run fast, all of these things. However, dependent upon how the training is given, the horse's abilities are different. This is what I remember, or this is what comes to mind when you say nivaranas. Yes, of course, it is a nivaranas, but when it comes to specifically the immaterial and the fine material realm, I would say it is a level of specialization. How do we specialize our attention, our practice in a way? Because remember, there are beings who do not at all go to these planes, right? They stick within the human realms, continue their practice within the human realms, and attain within the human realms, right? There are human and divine, but never do they go to fine material and immaterial. So if we, because a question which was asked was specific to the fine material, I would say it is not only about the nivaranas, but it is also about the path of practice that one has chosen for oneself. You know, the path of practice, because remember, the nivaranas can be suppressed. There can be people in this world currently who have suppressed their nivaranas to such an extent, even beyond what the fine material beings or immaterial beings must be experiencing. However, those beings are still here. You know, so I would say it is more about the specific practice that we have taken ourselves forward with. Okay, what would you say to that, Dhammasiri?
But the dana is not specifically for Buddhists only. It's common for Hindus also.
Okay.
So when Hindus concentrate, practically they do the same thing. They suppress the nivaranas, or they try to dissociate with the attachment to the mundane world. So practically it's the same sort of procedure, but they go to fine material. I think their main aim is to go to the fine material world.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The main aim is to, that is more of a reason to say that it is not only the nivaranas, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Shall we then move on with the lesson? Yes. Okay. So page number, did we complete that whole chart in 212? I think
We did one thing.
we didn't, isn't it? All right. Let's go to 213 then. Page number 213. Sublime. Let me share my screen. Sublime volitions. First jhana, inferior, middle, superior, right? Brahma's retinue, Brahma's ministers, Mahabrahmas, right? Rebirth is delivered. Bhavanga and death happens by the power of the first jhana resultant, right? By the first jhana resultant. Second jhana, inferior, middle, and superior, minor lastra, infinite lastra, and radiant lastra, is through the second jhana resultant. The third jhana, inferior, middle, and superior, minor lustra, infinite lustra, and radiant lustra, comes through the third jhana. Fourth jhana, inferior, middle, and superior, minor aura, infinite aura, and steady aura, comes through the fourth jhana. In the fifth jhana, normal, great reward, comes through the fifth jhana resultant. The fifth jhana, with dispassion for perception, which is perception, right, gives rise in the non-percipient beings, and it says the rebirth, bhavanga, and death is none, which is very particular. Is that understood why it says none there? Why does it say none? Geeta, you look a bit confused over there. Are you all right, Geeta? Yeah. Why does this say none? Mala, what do you think?
Because when you are born in the non-percipient level, in the asanyatala, there's no patisandhi chitta which comes. They have the chuti chitta. After that, there's no patisandhi. And when they finish their lifespan only, they get the patisandhi and being born in the different plane.
There is no consciousness.
There's no consciousness here.
Shall I say something?
There's no mind there.
Okay,
No.
yes.
I think the path through which you reach there is different. It's not through jhana. No, it's not through jhana. It's actually contemplating on the bad, or what is it? You try to reject the consciousness, and then you contemplate on it, and that's why you'll be born devoid of consciousness. Bhante?
Correct. Absolutely. It is,
Yeah.
it is in, as it says again on the chart, it is the dispassion for that sense of perception. And remember, perception is in the multifaceted nature of consciousness. Perception is one of its main attributes, without which consciousness cannot arise, right? Consciousness cannot arise. This is why in the 5 aggregates, we have perception, Vedana shown separately. Right? Because although another consciousness, a specific consciousness does not arise, does not mean that consciousness is not there. But if perception and Vedana does not arise, consciousness is not there. Do you understand? Right? That is the reason, because I think people do ask and question, why is it? Because we have the rupa, then we have the mental factors, and then we have the consciousness, isn't it? Then Vedana and Sanya are shown separate, and people wonder, this is a part of the Chaitasikas, why is it that it is shown separately? The reason that it is shown separately is, although they belong within the classification of the Chaitasikas, these two factors play a very predominant role in the existence of consciousness itself. Right? So when a person, through the meditation practice, which would lead to rebirth within the non-percipient, the plane of non-percipient beings, such a person reaches that state specifically because of the viraga towards perception. Right? That is why it states 5th jhana with dispassion for perception. Is that understood? Padma, you have put your hand up.
Yeah. Sorry, where am I now? Yeah.
Yes.
No, what I was, so they don't have a patisandhi chitta. So how do they get born there then? Is that simply by meditation and going into the jhanas?
It is said to be wholly done on a certain anomaly which exists only for this case scenario, which is the power of karma itself.
Okay. Difficult, yeah, okay. Difficult to understand that, but anyway. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it is rather difficult to wrap our heads around it. But this is clearly the state of non-percipient beings is a state which is clearly an anomaly. And because, and also sort of speaks on the potential of the human mind, really. The fact that, we often see karma, rebirth as things that are against us. But really, if you, I mean, with what we have been going through, you get what you want.
Okay.
Hate is something you have chosen. Lust is something you have chosen. Delusion is something you have chosen. Wholesome is something you choose for yourself. You get what you want. So really, karma, consciousness, all rebirth, bhavanga, all of these things, we should integrate into these philosophies, not in a way that a person externally is trying to understand it, but really through, I think, a scenario of understanding your own self. You know, because I mean, if we have learned anything with especially this chapter and the last chart, is the fact that you are the determinant of where you are going to go next, no one else. And karma is literally only the energy that you keep on producing throughout your life, which gives you a habitual aspect in terms of the energies that you have with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so fearing karma is almost fearing yourself, really.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, dear.
But Bhante, can you not simply say, I know you are giving a detailed explanation, can you not just say, well, non-percipient beings, that they don't have a mind. So then if they don't have a mind, how can they have a patisandhi chitta, because they don't have a mind? So that's why in that paragraph they have said, when you look at rebirth and they have written none, because there's no mind. So then they wouldn't have a. Would that be wrong to say that? So they don't have a patisandhi chitta,
What I
there's no mind.
think is this, right? Now, you know, without salt, nothing tastes good, right? You put salt into everything, right? We are so used to it, right? Um, but just because we might not be used to the taste of something without salt does not mean that there is no taste. We would say that there is no taste because it is not in par with the taste that we know it to have. Similarly, you understood what I just said, no? Similarly, we imagine that consciousness is the main runner of an entity. Places such as the non-percipient beings or non-percipient beings show us that it is not so entirely. Bringing us to, now for example, when we speak about karma, we have this sort of very traditional example of an oil lamp. Remember, the wick burns out, the oil runs out. You know, we have these examples that we use to sort of explain karma, right? This is really going down to that, right? We take away the illness, we take away the apada, the dangers to life. We take away all of that, and the only real governing factor that we now face is their karma. For us, there is karma, there is a body, there's consciousness, so illness, mental illness, decay, all of these things, apada, the dangers, you can be hit by something, you can get caught to something, you know, all of these things, you can catch a virus. There are many things that can bring about death, right? So we don't really focus everything on karma. But for these beings, that's the only depending factor in that plane. They arise when the previous demise has enough energy to give birth to this place. They demise when that energy runs out. That is the plain story of the scenario that we know. What do you think, Dale?
Yeah, I understand what you said, that it's only this karmic energy that they have. So because as long as they have yes. So as a result, as long as they have that karmic energy, yes, they get born, and that's all that they have, because they don't have a mind. And when that energy goes, yes, then they leave that. And so I can understand that one. But I was only just asking to say that can we not just say, because they don't have a mind, that therefore they can't have a patisandhichitta, isn't it? If you don't have a mind, how can you have a patisandhichitta? Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. That's just for my, because it was such a simple way of the reason why there's none there. All the others are there because all of them have a mind. But in this case, thank you, Bhante. That was just my, because we were going to very detailed things. When I saw that, that is what I just thought. That's the reason. Thank you, Bhante. I quite understand.
All right. Shall we move on?
Bhante, quick question. While you're in Asanya Satta, there's a chance that you can experience any karmic resultants. So even the termination of the life,
I can think of.
Okay. Sorry?
That's the only thing that I can think of, the termination.
Yes. Termination.
Sorry, please go ahead, Dhamma Center.
The termination can definitely will be as a result of karmic result. But in the meantime, do you have a bodily resultants? Because resultants can be mindly or what's the other one? The bodily or the is it so? And verbal.
Yes.
So bodily one will be still possible.
I don't think so, Dhamma, because remember, for a karma to arise, karma itself is not enough. Karma has to be supported by other varying factors for a karma to give rise. Example, you have committed a heinous crime in the past, and due to this crime, you need to burn. However, because now, for example, let's say 10 years ago, one commits a heinous crime. But he does not burn. Why? The condition is not present. But the karma is present. The karma is present in a very, very powerful manner. That is why it becomes a not ditta dhamma. The very next life. What is that karma called?
Aparapariya
vedaniya karma. Right? It's so powerful that in the very next birth, it will and must give rise. It's that karma, which is a aparapariya vedaniya karma, is so powerful that a person will not even be able to attain nibbana, even though he might have had the nibbana karma earlier to performing the heinous crime. Right? That I would then connect to the Asanna Satta to say, look, it is not only karma which is required, it is also the fact of the mind, the conditions. And in this world, there is absolutely nothing but that mindless body sitting there up until the lapse of the karma. Also, Dhamma, now let's say you have a karma in a certain way where you have to undergo a certain amount of pain. And the karma is to give rise through a physical infliction.
Mm.
Who is going to undergo the pain? There is no mind.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
a primary condition for the bad resultant is also not there, the mind.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Quite interesting, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
You convinced me.
Somehow, by hook or crook. All right. 214, shall we? Oh no, we'll just read through this. So number 12, fifth jhana of the non-returner, one is born in the pure abodes through the fifth jhana resultant. Base of infinite space, born in infinite space through the first resultant, immaterial sphere resultant. The base of infinite consciousness, is born in infinite consciousness through the second immaterial sphere resultant. The base of nothingness is born in the sphere of nothingness through the third immaterial sphere resultant. The base of neither perception nor non-perception is born in the plane of neither perception nor non-perception through the fourth immaterial sphere resultant. Did you read the part of the book that I sent a photo of?
Yes, I did
Yeah.
it. I did, yes.
Yeah, I was just in the garden and I was sunbathing and and then I was like, wow, this is going to be this is interesting. And it is quite interesting, isn't it, how a certain aspect 2,600 years ago. Dhamma Center, what do you want to say?
This concept was first developed by Einstein. And then it's actually linked to the Einstein relativity. So when we move from center of the earth outside, the time factor changes. So time is actually not a fixed parameter. It actually keep on changing as you go away from the center of earth. So you will get slowed down.
You get shorter and you get older. So.
Yeah, slow down and shorter. So this is very interesting because even there's a film called there's a film actually. They say this factor is explained in quite a number of films, modern films, scientific films actually. So practically what Buddhism says, these different levels of existence, like fine material, and there's a possibility that we are not, these fine materials are not in the vicinity of earth. It's far away, completely away from the earth gravity. So that's why you have longer sort of time span.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it is explained in some of the textbooks actually. They say certain spheres actually 100 gauges, and I don't know, the gauges are 60 miles or something like that, and they identify even the distance from the earth. So
quite interesting for sure. And
yeah,
what's most interesting is the fact that Einstein theory came into place in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Because the Buddha earlier than that was able to specify a certain sort of bending of time.
Yeah.
Which was, without any of the scientific studies that probably people like Einstein did, and which is quite curious, isn't it? It's quite for sure. All right.
And it also is that it's wonderment, isn't it? Without all the nanotechnology and all the things that they had, that the Buddha actually realized all this about there being no time and no space, and about the bending of time and space, which only they were, and they think it's very esoteric, and that they're just saying it's there, but they can't even fathom how it can be. They're only just beginning, but then the Buddha saw it in its entirety. So I think it's really fascinating.
Absolutely.
Bhante, I'll give you another sort of point that you can read. I have a strong belief that consciousness has got a quantum properties. So you have to know a little bit of quantum physics to understand that. There's a phenomena called non-locality in quantum physics. That means you can move, particles can move from one place to other place with no time difference. So when I think about the Chuti Chitta and when I think about the Chuti Chitta and the rebirth Chitta, so the time difference, the actual distance can be another world or another universe, but it goes without time delay.
Exactly.
So that means it has got the same characteristics as quantum energy. So that's why it's very interesting. The Buddhism has got the most modern sort of scientific knowledge embedded in it, but it's up to people to understand it
and decipher it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Bhante, now the scientists are actually saying with the double slit lamp and with quantum physics, they are even now saying that even things like the neutron and things before it comes to quarks are also quantum in nature. And that's what it shows, that actually, like when you close the eyes, that there is no time and no space. And the fantastic thing is that all this amount of science is just who are sort of, so far it's coming, and what is being discussed openly by the astrobiologists and the astronomers is still only about 15% of the knowledge that the Buddha has. So with each one, they're finding some more things like the birth of the stars and the black holes, and all these things are what we are now scientifically finding. Well, the Buddha has seen all this in its entirety, and I think that's a fan. But it's only now about this double slit lamp and all these tests are going on. So I think it's fascinating, and I think for those who are Buddhists and who have seen it, I think your shraddha in the Buddha and things becomes really to a great extent. It's really fantastic, Bhante.
Really.
But what is also good is that all this knowledge is now, even though because it's a Christian country and they don't know, the scientists who are involved, they're having a lot of personal meetings where they gather, and one or two of them are Buddhists, and they have got, but they can't kind of other than a few articles and things, they can't openly say because this is a Christian country and the church is obstructing. So that's why though the science has found out so many things, a lot of people don't know, because the church comes for all these meetings and they're held behind locked doors, and though everything is proved, they can't really make it general public. They can't put it into the schools, and they can't do quite a lot of things because it goes against the whole belief of creation that Christianity is fundamental to. That's really what the problem is. And that's what the scientists say when we say, why don't you share these openly? So person to person, they will speak, but very rarely do they come out for general public, and they are not being, most of what they're being taught in the textbooks now, Newtonian physics, and they are now really gone beyond that. But in some of those last letters by Eisenhower to his daughter, he actually refers to all these things, but they don't make this public. So it's not easy for everyone to know about it.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to page number 211, please. Guide to para 28. In para 29 to 30, the author will explain the correlations between each type of wholesome chitta and the result that it is capable of producing. The great resultants occur in 4 modes, with the 3 process-freed functions of rebirth, linking, bhavanga, and death. And within the cognitive process, the function of registration, these resultants ripen only in the sensuous world. The 8 rootless resultants are the 5-fold sense consciousness, receiving consciousness, and the 2-fold investigating consciousness. Page number 214. The latter will occur within the cognitive process in the role of registration as well, while the one accompanied by equanimity can also function as the rebirth, bhavanga, and death consciousness for those of defective birth. All 8 rootless resultants ripen in the sensuous world, but 3 types of sense consciousness, nose, tongue, and body, do not ripen in the fine material world, as the beings there lack the requisite sense faculties. That is understood, right? Para 29, wholesome results and the roots. Therein, superior wholesome karma accompanied by 3 root produces rebirth linking, similarly accompanied by 3 roots. And during the course of existence, it gives effect to 16 kinds of resultants, right? 16 kinds of resultants. Wholesome karma of an inferior grade accompanied by 3 roots and that of a superior grade accompanied by 2 roots produces rebirth linking with 2 roots and give effect to 12 kinds of resultants, excluding those with 3 roots during the course of existence. Again, wholesome karma of an inferior grade accompanied by 3 roots and that of a superior grade accompanied by 2 roots. So even though there are 3 roots, they can be of a weaker grade, right? And so 2-rooted consciousnesses, which are of a superior grade, produces rebirth linking with 2 roots and gives effect to 12 kinds of resultants, excluding those with 3 roots during the course of existence. But wholesome karma of an inferior grade accompanied by 2 roots produces rebirth linking without roots and gives effect to rootless resultants during the course of existence, right? Weaker kusala karma, right? Weak kusala karma can give rise to or can give rise through rootless resultants. Remember we spoke about this, right? What is the consciousness that it gives rise through? It gives rise through wholesome resultant investigating consciousness, right? Why? It is not clear. We do not have enough data to say why. But what we know is when the kusala karma is weak, it can give rise to a 2-rooted wholesome resultant, or it can give rise through a rootless path, right? Through a rootless path. It all depends on the grade of the consciousness. Is that clear?
Bhante, can I just ask, I think I'm a bit confused now. It gives a rootless result. So these are pravritti chittas, right? So not the patisan, because it's rootless.
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Right. But yeah, guide to para 29. Superior wholesome karma. Wholesome karma is distinguished by way of its capacity to produce results into two grades, the superior and the inferior. The superior grade, ukkatta, right, in singular ukrushta, the superior grade of wholesome karma is that done with a mind that has been well cleansed of the defilements and is attending with good causes before and after the commission of the deed. For example, giving alms to the virtuous with wealth righteously obtained, whilst rejoicing before and after the giving of the act of giving. The inferior grade, omaka, is that done with a mind that before and after the performance of the wholesome deed is tainted by such defiled states as self-exaltation, the disparagement of others, and subsequent regret. Is that clear? Rebirth linking, accompanied by 2-3 roots, etc. Thus occurs by way of the 4 great resultants accompanied by knowledge. There are 4 consciousnesses that are accompanied by knowledge. The 16 resultants that arise in the course of existence are the 8 that are rootless and the 8 great resultants. The 16 resultants that arise in the course of existence, pravutti, are the 8 that are rootless and the 8 great resultants. 12 kinds of resultants, excluding the 4 great resultants accompanied by knowledge, right? Accompanied by knowledge. Rebirth linking without roots. The wholesome resultant investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity. Rebirth linking without roots. The wholesome resultant investigating consciousness accompanied by equanimity. This is referring to, we know, the consciousness that we have seen on the graph, which is relating to giving patisandhi, right? Or being able to bring about a certain patisandhi, but is rootless. Right? An alternative view. Some teachers say that unprompted does not produce prompted resultants and prompted does not produce unprompted resultants. According to them, as stated above, the arising of resultants should be set forth in due order as 12, 10, and 8. 12, 10, and 8, right? Let's see what that says. Guide to para 30. Some teachers say the view on resultants stated in para 29 was advanced by an ancient master, Tipitaka Chulanagathera, and is a prevalent opinion among the teachers of Abhidhamma. In para 30, the author states an alternative view held by the teachers of the school of the Maha Dhammarakshita Thera, an Abhidhamma master in the ancient Moravapi monastery in Sri Lanka. 12, 10, and 8. What does this mean? On this view, both at rebirth and during the course of existence, unprompted wholesome chittas produce only unprompted resultants, and prompted wholesome chittas produce only prompted resultants. This means that during life, the superior 3-rooted wholesome chittas produce only 12 resultants each. Produce only 12 resultants each. The 8 rootless resultants and either the 4 unprompted or the 4 prompted resultants corresponding to their own nature as unprompted or prompted. The wholesome chittas of the second grade produce 10 resultants each. The 8 rootless resultants and either the 2 unprompted or the 2 prompted two rooted resultants, again corresponding to their own nature as unprompted or prompted as in the prevalent view. So in this view too, the weakest grade of wholesome chittas produce only rootless rebirth linking and only the 8 rootless resultants during the course of existence. For a tabular comparison of the two views, see table 5.5. Let's see. Let me get this on share screen. Okay. First superior, right? The rebirth resultant is brought about by 3 roots. And then we have the Protivipaka, the resultants that can be brought about during life, and the Patisandhi Vipaka, which is seen here, right? So the first superior, Patisandhi, is created through 3 roots. However, during life, the resultant can happen through rootless resultants, all 8, right? Rootless resultants, all 8. What are we referring to? Ahetuka kusala vipaka chittas, right? For those of you who might be confused, the first superior wholesome, when an act is done through the first superior wholesome consciousness as a protivipaka, this karma can give rise to protivipaka through all 8 of the rootless resultants. Is that clear? Right? That is clear according to the chart. Then we have with roots, right? The general view is 1 to 8, right? 1 to 8, meaning this is referring to with roots. We have to think about what? Sobana Kamavachara Sobana Kusala Chitta Vipaka. Got it? Somana Sagata, Jnana Sampyuta Sankaraka Sasankaraka. Yes, that 8 is what we are talking about now. Because why? How do we know? With roots, it says here. Right? And with roots, there is only one kind of consciousness category which can give rise to something that is wholesome, isn't it? Right? So that is 1 to 8. That's a general view. However, what it is now saying is the alternative view, which is through this master, what's his name? Chulanaga Thera, right? A part of the Dhammarakshita Thera school, what they say is that if it was prompted, right? If it was prompted, then it can only give rise through 1, 3, 5, and 7. A prompted consciousness cannot give rise to a resultant that is unprompted. Nor can an unprompted resultant give rise to a consciousness that is prompted. But remember, this is first superior, you see. This is referring to a person who has now performed a act of good through the best states of mind, through conviction, contemplation, and understanding. That is why it has taken 1, 3, 5, and 7, which are the consciousnesses that are prompted, unprompted, right? Unprompted. Do you understand?
So that means, Bhante, the 2, 4, 6, 8, because they're prompted, are left out.
Yes. Mugada, think about a person. How, remember we discussed first chapter, how does a person perform something which is prompted? My mother is telling me to go take food for someone. She's nagging me. Now, because she's nagging me, I'm taking it. Prompted, right? I don't want to do a certain thing, but because I've been asked to do it, now I'm doing it. Prompted, right? The Kusala mind, right, appears almost organically in this first stated scenario. Understood? Any questions? And anyone who doesn't understand? Okay.
Bhante, this, the next, in that, that rootless resultants, all 8, when you are referring to, those are those Sobhana Chittas out of the 24, the first 8, which is the Kusala ones, without the Vipaka ones and the Kriya ones. Is that what it means? We were talking about the Sobhana, the rootless resultant. Is that what you're talking about? The first 8 Sobhana Chittas, there are 24. The first 8 are the Kusala ones. That's what you're referring to, isn't it, Bhante?
Which one? We are referring to all of them, but which category are you talking about? Are you talking about the rootless resultants?
No, you were talking about, no. When you were talking about, you were talking about the wholesome Kusala Chittas. Didn't you mention about 8?
Yeah, so this.
And you were talking about the Sobhana Chittas. So then they can't be then the Hetuka ones. They have to be Sobhana Chittas.
This one.
Yes, that's a 1 to 8. Yeah. So that with roots, a general view with roots. So it's a Sobhana Chittas, there are 24, no, there are the Kusala, the Vipaka, and the Kriya. So this is the first 8. Is that
or resultants?
Yes, yes, they are.
See, resultants.
So that's the second 8. The second 8, because the first are the Kusala ones are the first 8. The resultants are the second 8.
Yes.
Kriya are the third 8. Right. Okay, Bhante. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right. Moving
because the resultants there, right? Okay, Bhante.
Moving on. Right. We have the first inferior, right? 2 roots. 2 roots. Now, is it clear what we refer to as superior, first superior, second superior, third superior? Is that clear? Mala, could you please explain?
In the list, it says with joy, with knowledge, that is Jnana Sampayutta, Asankarika and Sansankarika. Then again with joy, Jnana Vippayutta, Asankarika and Sasankarika. Then the last 4 with Upekka, Jnana Sampayutta, Asankarika, Sasankarika, Upekka, Jnana Vippayutta, Asankarika, Sasankarika. So each one with knowledge or without knowledge is divided into 2, prompted or unprompted, asankarika or asankarika.
Okay. Yes. Is that understood? Yeah. All right. What is not clear? Right. Now, what we are essentially, what Mala just explained, and what we are going through is essentially, we know that there are variations of results. Just because an act is performed through a certain consciousness does not necessarily mean that it is going to be the same. It is this differentiation which we are now talking about. What it means to be the first, if we just take this part, the first superior and the first inferior, right? This is referring to, Mala, tell us what is first superior? The consciousness.
That is, in Sinhala, I'll say, Somna Sahagata, Jnana Sampayutta, Asankarika, which is unprompted.
Unprompted, correct.
Yeah.
Right. So this is to mean the most powerful sort of consciousness that we can perform a wholesome karma with. 3-rooted and unprompted. When it comes to the first inferior, same consciousness, but its inferior counterpart, what is that? Prompted.
Prompted.
Right? Let's go to the second one. Right? Second superior and second inferior. What is second superior here, Mala?
It is Upekka Sahagata, Jnana Sampayutta, superior, Asankarika.
Correct.
Unprompted.
Now, Upekka. The second superior is Upekka. Why? Remember, when it comes to an act of good, that wholesome sense of happiness makes it more powerful, hence for superior. With a sense of Upekka here, it becomes a second superior. So what is it? Upekka Jnana Sampayutta unprompted. Is that understood, everyone? Right? What is its inferior version then? Hema Mali. What should be its inferior version? Unmute yourself, please. Yes, Hemali.
Yeah, unprompted one. Unprompted.
Prompted.
Prompted.
Prompted. Superior unprompted.
Yeah.
Right. If we take it in this way, superior is always a higher class of mind.
Yes.
No one needs to push us to do anything that is good.
Yes, but.
Oh, okay. then the inferior is the consciousness, but now it's prompted. Someone push us to do it. Get it? Right? So then what is the third superior? What are we referring to here?
Unprompted.
No,
not only unprompted. Mala?
Third superior. It is the Upekka Sahagata, unprompted. Unprompted one.
The third superior is Upekka Sagata. And it is how many we have? What about the Jnana?
Jnana Samprayutta.
Jnana
Samprayutta.
Jnana Sampayutta, unprompted.
Unprompted.
Right? Unprompted. And then the inferior?
From
Jnana Samprayutta.
Jnana Vipayutta.
Jnana Vipayutta, yeah.
Vipayutta Sasankarika.
May I say something?
Yes, Tamari.
So, Bhante, the first 4 chittas there are Somanasa Sahagata, not Upekka Sahagata. The last 4 are basically 5, 6, 7, 8 would be Upekka Sahagata.
Is it so? Okay. How did you do that, Tamari?
That's because in the chart, the 4 red dots are the and then you get the blue dot. So the first 4 dots are, those are all
Somanasa.
Somanasa, and the second 4 are blue, so they are opaque.
Where are the blue dot, red dot, white dot?
That's in that first chart that you gave to make it easy. All the opacas are blue, and so that you know automatically when you see the first 4 dots, that those are
Page 46.
Excuse me, Bhante.
Page 46, Bhante.
Bhante, can you please excuse me? There is a big disturbance coming from a radio. Somebody is having a radio on. It's all garbage. Can somebody turn that off, please?
Hari.
Hari sabdayak ne. Kalabalayak wage.
There are the blue and red dots, Bhante. That's page 46 in words.
Okay, you're not talking about this chart.
Yeah, this chart, but it's also in page 46,
Okay.
written in words, in the book.
Okay.
This is the one I'm referring to, Bhante.
Okay. Let's try with this one.
It's clearer in page 46, as someone mentioned, Bhante, because there it's given Somanasa Sahagata, Somanasa Sahagata, Somanasa Gata, and then Upeta. If you just turn to page 46, it's all written in letters without the colored dots. Yeah, that's the one. That's the chart.
So it's just going through. So it's just going through the the number of the consciousnesses.
That's the same one we are working on now.
The same beautiful concept. The wholesome chitta.
So the first categorization is Bhante, joy. Second will be the knowledge, whether it is with knowledge or without knowledge. Then comes prompted or unprompted. That's how the chitta is actually categorized.
Categorized on the chart.
Yes.
So all 4 joys will be there at the beginning. And then the equanimity, the last 4.
So you get Bhante, the Somanasa Sahagata, the first 4 in the first category, and Upeta Sahagata will be also the first 4 in the second category. And in the middle one, you get Jnana Sampayukta in the first 4. And then you get 2 Jnana Sampayukta, 2 Jnana Vipayukta. Then again 2 Jnana Sampayukta, 2 Jnana Vipayukta. Other alternate, Asankarikam, Sasankarikam, Asankarikam, Sasankarikam. They alternate.
See the numbers of the sense wholesome and the results. Just see 1.4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bhante, but I can't understand now in the first superior with through 3 roots and it gets 1, 3, 5, 7. Number 3 is dissociated from knowledge. So if it's first superior with 3 roots, how can it have dissociated with knowledge? Number 3.
Say that again. The first superior is with knowledge.
Now in the very first knowledge, first superior with 3 roots, rebirth and rootless results all 8, that's okay. And with roots, alternatively, which is 1, 3, 5, 7. Number 1 is okay, but number 3 is without knowledge, according to the page 46. Dissociated from knowledge.
But that wrote Kamma Sante Bhante.
What about the rebirth resultant? Because the third chitta is Somanasagata Jnana Vipayutta Asankharika, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Jnana
why it's two
Vipayutta.
roots.
Jnana Vipayutta Asankharika. If it is Proti, it can give, if it is Proti, it can give rise during the time of life as a Trihetuka or a Dvihetuka. Right? As a Trihetuka or a Dvihetuka. But here, within the rebirth resultant, we have three roots, which is causing the confusion, isn't it, Mala?
Yeah, these are Pravritti Vipakas. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So they can have without knowledge resultants.
Yeah.
But
they are all unprompted.
But they are not.
1357 are all unprompted.
They are not three-rooted.
But they are not three-rooted. The third process is not three-rooted. What do we have to say about that? Chamari?
Yeah, so Bhante, the third superior is without knowledge, so it is with two roots, and actually the resultants during life are also 3, 4, 7, 8, which are Jnana Vipayutta Sankarika. So it is two roots. And then 4, 3, 4. So the 4 would be also Vipayutta. So it is two roots. So they've got the 4 resultants during life that are not three roots.
Yes. But what about Patisandhi then? So the confusion here is not on this line. Now what you're referring to, Chamari, is the Proti of this line. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But then what about this number here? 3 roots. Second superior, rebirth resultant brought about by the 3 roots. So the Patisandhi Kamma is done by 3 roots. Right? These are the Proti. The Proti is fine. Right? The Proti is fine. But the 3 roots here is now what seems to be the issue. Why don't...
But Bhante, so the second, so we are still looking at number 32. So Chitta number 32 is the sense sphere wholesome Chitta second superior. And that one is Jnana Sampayutta, which would have 3 roots.
Somanasagata Jnana Sampayutta Asankharika Sasankharika. Somanasagata Jnana Vipayutta Asankharika Sasankharika. Upekha Sagata Jnana Sampayutta Asankharika Sasankharika. Upekha Sagata Jnana Vipayutta Asankharika Sasankharika. According to that, that is the chant. Upekha, so the third consciousness is Somanasagata Jnana Vipayutta Asankharika.
But Bhante, the first 2 are associated with knowledge. The next 2 are associated
with knowledge.
Yes. So the first 2 will have the 3 roots.
Okay. So we are referring to, okay. So the first two ones, the first 2 consciousnesses is referring to the Jnana Sampayutta Asankharika and Sasankharika. Yeah. So the second category of superior is referring to the Jnana
Vipayutta.
Asankharika, Sasankharika. But then again, Jnana Vipayutta, so Asankharika, the second superior Asankharika, right? So Somanasagata Jnana Vipayutta Asankharika, right? And then Somanasagata Jnana Vipayutta Sasankharika. Still Chamari, 3 roots now.
Yeah, so the jnana, yeah, jnana vipayutta means one of the roots.
Vipayutta means it's lacking 1.
There.
That is the confusion. Shall we, what we'll do is we'll read this again and see where. Some teachers say the view on resultants stated in para 29 was advanced by the ancient meditation master. No, let's skip that. 12, 8, 10. On this view, both at rebirth and during the course of existence, unprompted wholesome chittas produce only unprompted resultants, and prompted wholesome chittas produce only prompted resultants. This means that during life, the superior 3-rooted wholesome chittas produce only 12 resultants each. The 8 rootless resultants and either the 4 unprompted or the 4 prompted resultants corresponding to their own nature as unprompted or prompted. The wholesome chittas of the 2nd grade produce 10 resultants each. The 8 rootless resultants and either the 2 unprompted or the 2 prompted rooted resultants, again corresponding to their own nature as unprompted or prompted, as in the prevalent view. So in this view, 2 are the weakest. In this view, 2, the weakest grade of wholesome chittas produce only rootless rebirth linking and only 8 rootless resultants during the course of existence. Okay. Okay. Nothing there, that is jnana. Interesting. Let me see. Where did we come from? Okay, let's read this. Superior wholesome karma. Wholesome karma is distinguished by way of its capacity to produce results. The superior and the inferior. The superior grade of wholesome karma is that done with a mind that has been well cleansed of the defilements and is attending with good cause before and after commission of that deed. For example, giving alms to virtuous with wealth righteously obtained while rejoicing before or after giving. The inferior grade that is done with a mind that before and after the performance of the whole is tainted by such defilement states such as self-exhaustion, disparaging of others, resulting in regret. Rebirth linking, accompanied by 3 roots, etc. This occurs by way of the 4 great results accompanied by knowledge. The 16 resultants that arise in course of the existence are the 8 that are rootless and the 8 that are resultants, great resultants. Okay. Okay. In that case, shouldn't 1, 2, 4 here be taken as Somanassa, and 4th onwards from the 5th to the 8th inferior be taken as Upekha? And in each, so the first superior and the first inferior refers not to 2 different types of consciousnesses, but to the same possibility within one consciousness.
That's a possibility, isn't it? Because one is done before, during, after the wholesome act.
Yeah.
With the wholesome mind. And with the inferior of the first, which is Somanassa Sahagata Jnana Sampayutta Sasankarika then, or is it Asankarika still? If it is Omaka, then you are not making use of all 3 roots.
You're not making, but that, yes, we are making full use of the 3 roots at the time of rebirth, which must happen.
Sure.
But at the time of proti, we have the potential of using whatever. but in the spirit of that first consciousness, which has created the karma. That is what it would then imply with the 1 to 8 general view, right? But with what we have read, asankarika cannot give rise to sasankarika. The alternative view would then prove this one here.
Yeah.
The general view will prove this one. The rootless resultants, all of the rootless resultants can arise owing to this consciousness right here. So maybe that would be the right way to take it then. What do the others think? Damsini?
Bhante, anyway, here, if you look on that page 46, there are eight here. But if you look at this chart that your arrow is on, there is 1 and 1, there are 2, then 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 7 and 7, 8 and 8. So there are 16 lines here, while this other chart has only 8 lines. So therefore, we can't directly say, right, the first line is the first line in this and the second line, because there are 16. We can't. So therefore, you can't use the, yeah.
And with what was mentioned here, with regards to what they say, they're speaking about 2 ways of doing the same thing.
Inferior and superior.
Which is superior and inferior.
Yeah.
Right. So then, which would then hint us that the first superior is a certain way of doing something, or an action is produced, and the inferior is otherwise. Damsiri?
I think what you say is right, Bhante.
Yeah.
So now the first superior and the first inferior, that represent the number 1, right?
Yeah.
And number 1, this is for the rebirth, right? Number 1, there's a but still no number 1, but number 1 can be actually 2-rooted because of the inferior nature of the karma.
Yeah.
No,
that's what I thought.
Number 1 cannot be 2-rooted. Number 1 is 3-rooted. However, because of the inferior nature, it can have a 2-rooted potential.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So number 1 as a standard, it's a superior, but you degrade number 1 because of some other reasons, and it will become inferior, and it will become 2-rooted.
Yeah, give result as a 2-rooted or 2-rooted resultant.
Yeah, 2-rooted. Resultant.
Yeah.
Let's think about it
and come back.
And come back next week. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
But let us quickly go through the chart, right? So in the way that we have then agreed to go about it at this moment, through the Abhidhamma Council of the Dhamma Center, we are going to approach the subject in this manner, which is the first, both superior and inferior, referring to the respective first consciousness of the wholesome, but elucidating upon 2 potential ways that the first consciousness could give results. Okay, right? If any changes are there to make, we will make it by next week, right? When we come together again after we have done a bit more research and study. All right. So then the second.
This part of Abhidharma is more complicated than life.
Well, I think life is complicated, hence the Abhidhamma has to be complicated, you see. So then we have, right, the first superior. So then it's understood, no, in wholesome resultants, we have 8 consciousnesses. Hence, we have two potentials, right? Owing to the way we carry out the consciousness through action. That is what superior and inferior outlines here. Is that clear? Right? When it is superior, meaning through the most knowledgeable of ways, through awareness and understanding, a karma is produced. Such a karma can give result in or through three routes. But however, if this first consciousness of the Sobhana Chitta is done in a weak manner, it can give rise in two routes or through two routes, right? Through two routes. Again, the second superior, which is Somana Sagata Jnana Vipayutta, Asankarika and Sasankarika, right? When done proper, right, it can give rise in three routes and two routes. Now one might imagine, how does a three-rooted consciousness how does a two-rooted consciousness give rise in a three-rooted manner? Remember, it's not the same consciousness. Do you understand? Sorry. It's not the same consciousness. Right? It's not the same. Do you understand that when I say it's not the same consciousness? Please say no if no, if say yes if yes. Yeah.
Bhante, can I, the statement you made before that, I'm not quite, you said that the first superior and the first inferior, you are saying refers to number one in the book, only that one is you have with full awareness and therefore is superior, and the other one is you didn't think properly, therefore is. So if the first two there on your chart is referred to the first one, then the next two, does that refer to the second one on this book? Because then they are also Jnana Sampayukta. Though you mentioned the word Jnana Vipayukta.
Somana Sagata Jnana, the first one is Somana Sagata Jnana Sampayukta Asankarika.
Yeah.
The second one.
Yes, that that also should be the Jnana Sampayukta and not Vipayukta. That's what I'm trying to say. But it can have the potential depending on the way you perform.
Yes. It's not the same. Remember that when a karma is produced, it will not give resultant through the same chitta, right? That it is a different chitta that arises at that respective time. Yes, Padma.
Gosh, confused with this, getting confused. But now I was looking at it and I think now the first superior and the fifth superior seem to be the same. If you look at first superior and the fifth superior, they have both three roots, all 8, 1 to 8, and 1, 3, 5, 7, which are unprompted with knowledge. And both those are the same. So I can't understand why that should be.
I think both those consciousnesses are three roots. Both have
That's right.
computer. Both are unprompted. The only difference is the Vedana.
Yes. One is Somanasa and other one is Upekha.
Okay, right.
That's the only difference. But otherwise, both of them are Jnana Sampayukta and both of them are Asankarika.
Asankarika. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Shall we sleep on it and come back next week? I think that would be proper. Yeah. So just go through the chart. Before going through the chart, read through that other bit, denoting what wholesome and unwholesome, inferior and superior is, and then we can come back to it, right? Maybe it will be easier if you have the chitta chart with you. When you're sort of referring to the chart to understand what are the parts that are there. Yeah.
Bhante,
yes.
A comment to make. This is a good way of prevention of Alzheimer's because we are making our brain cells work. So we won't get Alzheimer's because we are growing new brain cells.
If someone gets Alzheimer's, then we'll know who's not been studying. Huh?
Bhante, I
That's called neuropraxia. Really new brain cells, neuropraxia.
Yeah, yes, Devika.
I agree with Mala wholeheartedly. What Mala said just now. We will not get Alzheimer's if we, work our brains like this.
We are on the same boat. We are all working our brains. All right. I'll see you all on then Wednesday.
Yes.
Yes. Did someone say anything? No. All right. Then I will see you all on Wednesday. Take care and good night. Right.
Good Sunday.
Thank you, Bhante. Good.
Bhante, thank you for the little note that you had put on our website about the recent article you read. Thank you for that.
Okay. Okay.
But the two pages that you told about Einstein's theory and very interesting. Thank you.
Goodbye. Good night.
Bye.